Hello, welcome back to the Little Craft House. I'm Nicole and today we're going to be making some Christmas earrings. So thing is, I don't want to do traditional red and green earrings, so I'm going to make it slightly different and we're going to go with more of pinks and teals in the colour range. Now these slabs are perfect for beginners if you're just starting out, really simple techniques to give you a beautiful cohesive collection of earrings. So along the way, I'll be telling you what I need. I'm just going to be making it up as I go. I've got a little plan, but I'm not 100% sure on what I'm doing. So come along with me for the journey and let's have some fun. Okay, so I was picking out my colours. I've got some blush here. I think that, is that blush? Yes, it's blush. Blush pink. I've got some gold, just because I thought I might want that for the accenting. I've got some, I think this is wasabi. It's a little bit dirty. It's just scraps. So it's got some glitters through it. I might need to try and find the pack and get some clean stuff of that, but that's all right. This red is from, I'm pretty sure it's Cernit. It could be Femo Professional. I think it's Femo Professional actually. That's one of those reds, or otherwise it's just a mix of colour. I don't really know, but I was going to go with a white base and I already rolled one out, ready to go, but I'm not going to go white. I think I'm going to go this nice sea glass from Souffle. I think I'm going to use this because I might use some white afterwards for accenting. I also grabbed my Posca pen, my white Posca, because yeah, I thought I might accent with a few dots or things with that, but I'm not sure yet, so I'm just going to chuck that to the side. So what I'm going to do is roll out my souffle, my base here. I've got clay under my nails. I'm just going to roll this out to make a base and then we'll get started. Okay, so I know at the beginning I said that I wasn't going to go traditional colours, but I thought I would just go the different shade of those traditions. So this teal colour instead of green, the pink instead of red, and then I am going to use a bit of red and gold, but I'm also going to use that fluory bright greeny colour as well. So not quite traditional, but very similar and just, yeah, just that slight bit different. Okay, so to start with, I'm just going to get all my clays nice and conditioned and nice and soft so that they are easy to work with. So just going to roll them out a little bit with my acrylic roller and then I'll pop them through the pasta machine just to help me condition them. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a small base because I'm not sure how this is going to go. So we'll do it once and then if I like it, I can always do another one later. So what I'm going to do is just do just the simple rip and tear technique, literally ripping the clay, tearing it off and just popping it onto the base. I'm going to do this for each of the colours, and these are just going to be random. I don't want them to be in any particular order or pattern. With the green, I might actually do this a little bit differently and I might make them some circles. So if I just roll them in my fingers, it's going to be too big. Yeah, so they're more of a shape than just the rip and tear. Okay, so I haven't used the gold yet, but what I think I might do before I do that, I'm going to grab some sandpaper. Now, if you haven't done sandpaper texture before, it's a very cool technique. So just some really coarse grit sandpaper. This one is 40 grit. As you can see, it's a little bit dirty because I've used it lots. And all you're going to do is pop it down on the top and give it a rub. can definitely see that in the pink. I'm not sure if you can see it in the other colours. I'll show you close up. So that's worked really well actually, because I thought it might go down and actually do the teal underneath, but it hasn't. It's just done those top shapes. So I'm actually quite happy about that because I like that. Now I've got to work out what I want to do next, because I was actually thinking that I might use a bowl tool and I might actually make those green ones. Yeah, just going to do that. I'm just going to put some more sort of different texture into those green ones. Right, I think I got them all. Yep, I like that. Now my gold. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might have a look and see. Okay, I was thinking about doing like little swirly bits, but I don't like that now, so I'm not going to do that. I think what I will do though is maybe just some little tiny balls. So I might just do that around, so add those, but I'm still going to need to add that white in somewhere. So I'm just using the other end of my bowl tool here. It's got a bit bigger of a ball end, and that's just going to push down those little circles, and it's going to leave it with a little bit of texture as well. So slightly different to the texture of the green because they're the smaller dots, whereas this will be, or rather smaller indents, whereas this has got a bigger indent on it. Okay, so that's the gold, and I still feel like it needs the white, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, so I'm not sure. Okay, so I've been away, I've had a think about it, I've come back. I'm going to use my white Posca pen, and I am just going to do some little dots on the clay while it's raw. Now, I could do this once it's baked, but I think I'm just going to do it now while it's raw. I actually have a ulterior motive for doing it while it's raw. See, with the Posca pen, to make it permanent, you need to rebake the clay, or to bake the pen, so that way it sets and it's less likely to come off. So if I do it while it's raw, then I'm only going to have to bake it once because I'll be baking it whilst the clay is baking. Now, if I was doing lines or something more like an actual design on it, I wouldn't be able to do it while it's raw because the pen would drag through the clay. But because I'm just going to do these little dots, I think it's fine for me to do it while it's still raw. And if it puts little indents into the clay, I don't mind at all because I've already got such a textured paste that it's not going to look out of place. Okay, so I'm actually really loving this now. It's Christmassy without being too Christmassy. What do you think? So while I was dotting away, I was actually thinking about coordinating pieces. So I think what I'm going to do is leave this for some main pieces. I'm not sure what shapes I'm going to cut yet, but I'm thinking things like arches and circles and things. And what I might do now is create some coordinating pieces to be the toppers and for any sort of like dangly underneath bits that I might want to do. So I'll get this cleared away and then we will do some coordinating pieces. So I'm just conditioning up my pink here. And I'm also going to go grab some white. So I'm going to grab back that white slab that I had before that I decided not to use. And trim it down a little bit. Condition this piece up as well, and we're going to do some stripes. Now I've done a whole other YouTube video all about stripes, so if you like what you see in this next bit, then you can always go back and have a look at that stripes tutorial. All right, don't try not to get too much color transfer there. And I'm going to get my extruder. So there's a few different types of extruders that you can get. This one is my favorite, the windy one. Now, I didn't clean it out last time I used it, so it's got green in it, and it's also really dirty around the edge there, but it's got green in it. So I'm just going to give that a quick clean out. I'll move my white so it doesn't get dirty. When you get the bit left in the end, I just like to get the ball tool and just run it around, and that will just help to remove what's left in. Okay, so I'm going to untwist my, oops, sorry, it's a bit close. Untwist my extruder. And I'm going to use the white first, just because I don't want colour transfer. Pop my white in. I've got a head that's got lots of little tiny holes in it. Pop that on top and secure it in. And then I'm just going to wind away. Closing in on all the gaps, and then it starts to put a bit of pressure and out it comes. So if you don't have an extruder, you can make strands of clay just by rolling them. You can roll them by hand. Oh, my extruder is quite squeaky. If you find your pieces are getting uneven, if you're rolling by hand, you can always use something flat like a ruler or like an acrylic tile, and that helps you to roll and keep them even in sizing, even in the strands. So that's if you don't have an extruder. However, if you do have an extruder, you'll know they're so much fun and you get to create lots of different things with them, and stripes is one of my most favourite things to create with an extruder. Pop the pink in. bit tough for me. There we go. As you can see, I left a bit of white in, so now it's cross-contaminated it, but that's okay. We'll just roll it so we don't see that bit. All right, bring back the white. Okay, actually, this is rolled the same thickness that I was going to do the slab on, so I'm actually going to pop it through my pasta machine and just make it one little bit thinner, because I'm going to layer these on to make the stripe. I don't want it to be too thick, so I'll just make it down the next size thinner. There we go, so it's just stretched it out a little bit. It's not a whole heap thinner, but let's go one more. Yeah, that's better. We don't want it to be, not that polymer clay is thick and heavy, but we don't want it to get too heavy. Okay, so to create the stripe, we're just going to alternate between each of these colours. So I think I might go long ways. And just as you pop it down, I like to push it on the corner there so that it secures. There we go. Alright, I'll just have one more at the top here. Okay, and then I'm just going to get my flexi knife. What have I done with it? There it is. Just chop off those overhanging bits. And then before I move it, I'm just going to get my roller and give a really light, gentle roll going in the direction of the stripes. Oops, I've already picked up the white. Just going in the direction of the stripes just to secure them down. That way it won't distort them. Kind of reminds me of a bathing suit. So far now I've got my stripy coordinate and that. Do I need another one? That's the question. I'm thinking something with the green would be really cool. Yep, let's do it. Okay, so I'm just going to move these two pieces to the side. I just pop them on a bit of baking paper so that the bottoms don't get dirty. Just pop them to the side of my desk over here. And we're going to start working on the final part of the coordinate. So I thought we might do a bit of a cane style slab. So I'm going to get each of my pieces here and roll them into some little tubular thick worm sort of shape, this shape that I'm doing here. I'm going to roll them into some pieces and then we will stack them on top of each other. So I don't mind if, and actually it works better if some pieces are thinner than others, some littler pieces. So I don't want the gold to overpower, so I'm just going to do quite a thin little strand of the gold. Just, it doesn't have to be super even for this. I'm just using my fingers. You can use your plate that I used before, or a ruler again to make even strands, but you can just use your fingers. It's not, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it's a little bit better if it's not perfect, because that way when you lay out your pieces onto the slab later, it's not quite well, not quite perfectly symmetrical, and I quite like that look. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white as well. Again, just a tiny bit. I don't want it to overpower, but I do want it to be there because that way it's got each of the colours that are in the other two slabs. That way it just is, yeah, perfectly coordinated. So it involves all the colours. Got to find the perfect spot to position it in. Just going to run it down this gap here. And then I'm just going to squeeze all the pieces together, get out those gaps. Just chop that end bits off there, make it more even. So we want to squeeze out any air gaps that are in it. That's my texture, my acrylic plate again. And so I'm just going to give that squeeze. I'm going to try and do a bit of a triangular shape with it. That way, some people do their canes as circles, but when you're tiling them, if you've got flat edges, it's much easier to tile flat edges rather than rounded edges, because with rounded edges you obviously get gaps. So I'm just going to try and make this have sort of triangular shape. I had an odd number of strands, so it's sort of naturally gone into a bit of a triangle. Just keep squeezing it. This is also reducing it down as well, so it's not going to be as big as what it was when it first started. As you can see, it's already nearly doubled in length. Just trying to keep it even down the edges there. And I'm just going to chop it in half. So that's the pattern that's going on. And if I just sandwich these two pieces together, then it's a bit of a bigger piece to tile. I'm just working out how I like it arranged. Because as I said before, I don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical. I have made this a little bit difficult for myself though, because now it's more of a diamond shape than a triangle. So that's going to be a little bit difficult in the squeezing process here. I think that has joined together nicely. All right, so I'm going to get my white base back. It's a little bit uneven, so I might just pop it back through the pasta machine again, fold it in half. So again, I just want this to be a little bit thinner than, so my normal earring size is about 3mm. This is going to go down that extra bit thinner because we're going to be tiling on top. So I don't want to have to roll it down thinner and stretch out the pattern too much. So I prefer to start with a thinner base piece, and then that way we don't have to bring it down quite as much. And so I'm going to do slices of our cane now. I'm going to go kind of thin. There we go, yep, so that's how they're going to go together. Being this diamond shape, I did make it a bit difficult for myself, but it's going to look really awesome. So yeah, the pieces that I'm cutting, I only want them to be a couple of mils thick. I am just doing it by eyesight, so they might be a little bit uneven, but that's okay. Just chop them all up. And now comes the fun bit of tiling them. So as I said before, flat edges do work better. I should have probably squared this out a bit more rather than being diamond, but it's just going to set that little extra challenge for me. It's going to squeeze them all in. I'm going to try not to have any gaps left, because the gap will be visible once it's rolled down, and then it will just look like a hole in the earrings. So just going to tile them all in here. Kind of making a cool little pattern. It's looking good. I always underestimate the amount that I'm going to need. So I thought I'd chopped plenty before and was going to have a big piece left as spare, but I didn't. I needed to chop more. So yeah, just chop some more and then continue on with my pattern. And my white base ended up being pretty much the perfect size because I'm not going to really be able to fit much more in anyway, even if I did have a bigger cane. Alright, so I've got a couple little scrappy bits there. I'm just going to cut out one of these colour sections just to fill that gap. I don't know if you saw that. I'd missed a little gap. So I will just plug that full. And I'll zoom in there to show you how good does it look. I really, really like this. This is probably, I think I like this more than my main piece. All right, so I'm just going to give it a roll down. It's going to stretch it out a little bit because it's pushing it down, obviously, but that's going to help to join all these pieces together and make it look like it's not been pasted together. Make it look like it's one continuous piece. And I'm going to do my final roll with my slab square here. That's going to sit on the outside of my slab. My roller sits on either side, and then that way it just brings it down to the 3mm depth, and that is then perfect for my earrings. So just final roll over doing that, make it all nice and even. So I'm really happy with how that has turned out. I think that it looks really awesome, really nice, and I'm really just loving those colours. So I just popped down my other ones on the side here just to compare them, and I think that makes a really good collection of colours, and they're going to look really good coordinating together. One thing I think I will do though, I'll just chop off these white bits just so that I can save those to the side. I'll just use my scalpel one here, get this bit off. White clay is always precious, so I want to save what I can. I don't want to waste these bits or get them dirty along the way. It just evens it up a little bit as well. I think though what it is missing is a little bit of texture, as soon as both, oh no, just the main piece has texture, doesn't it, not the stripe. But still, I'm going to use my dotting tool, and I'm just going to pick the blush pink colour, and I'm just going to put little dots on that. And I think that'll just help to just make it a little bit more cohesive as well. And just for fun, I'm going to put some little scratches into the teal colour. So I'm using this sharp, I don't know what this tool's for. It's like a, it's got a very sharp end on it anyway. So I'm just going to use that to scratch into the clay, just leaving little lines, little indent sort of pattern on it, just again, just for the texture. Okay, I am back. I will put my little disclaimer here that it is now the next day. I took too long choosing all my cutters that I lost the daylight and the ability to be able to film. So I'm back now. I've chosen a bunch of cutters. I'm probably not going to get all of these shapes cut as my slabs are quite small, but the majority of these are 3 pieces. This way I'll get a bit of each of the slabs in them so that it all coordinates. That one's got mirror image, and that will be on top. And then I really like these drops. They are very long though, so we'll see if they do fit. But yeah, these are the cutters that I've chosen to use. So let's see how we go. I'm going to try and push it down on the tile a little bit just to help avoid getting them stuck in the cutter. I prefer them to stick to the tile than in the cutter. I'm just going to work out how I want my pieces. So I'll just take a few moments to work out how I'm going to cut them. I like to lay all my cutters out so that I know how to best make them fit. And the best thing about slabs like these ones is that they don't have to go a particular way. So I can put my cutters in different directions and nobody's going to know that they weren't sitting up nice and straight. I'll be able to get 2 of those out of that one. So that one needs dangles, so we might go see this one, they have to be nice and straight. Maybe I'll do that as the middle piece and then the topper can be from there. All right, so I'm just going to cut them all up now. I think I've worked it out. Oh no, I broke him in half. Oh no. All right, I'll try the big one first. That's the problem with this one actually. I might try and just bond him onto the tile a little bit more. Hopefully it'll stick to the tile then instead of in the cutter. Yeah, there we go. Oh no, he's stuck again. All right, I'll get a different tool to push him out with. Use a silicone tipped tool. Now I'll come back and use the rest of this for something else afterwards. So I just want to get these 2 pieces out. Now I need to work out what toppers I need. I didn't do any of the little circle tops. So I'm pretty sure I need a circle top from this one. So I want to try and make sure that when I cut the circle, I want to be able to get a bit of each colour in so that you can see that pattern. Because otherwise, I also want them to be a little bit symmetrical as well, so that they actually look like they're a pair. I'm having a lot of issues today with my clay getting stuck in my cutters, but I think the reason for that is that usually I make on the tile, and when I rolled it, it sticks to the tile, so then it's not getting stuck in the cutters. But because I've moved these around quite a bit, it's lost all the bond onto the tile, so then now they're just sticking in the cutters. Alright, I've actually confused myself now on what I'm needing. So I might actually just arrange them on my tray and then I know what I need. Okay, so I've got my baking tray here. I'm just going to position them all into their groups. I don't know, these are looking pretty lots of patterns, so they're very full on, but that's okay. I actually really like the full on, and I think they really are giving off some good Christmas vibes too. Okay, so I just need tops for these ones and for these ones. So this one's going to need that top and that one's going to need that top. Right, I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to cut a couple of stripy tops too, because I'm thinking that that U-shaped one might look good with, even though it's got the dangles in the stripes, I might put a stripy top on it as well. A bit. And I might just have a look around my shape cutters and see if I can get some things out of each of these gaps as well, and just to make some more pairs. Okay, so if you follow me over on Instagram, you may have already seen this little clip here. I just thought I would quickly use up the scraps from that slab that we did and just see if I could make another sort of coordinating piece, or it could just be a standalone piece. Anyway, I just smushed or I stacked all these things together, smushing it here, then just giving it a roll, joining it all together. A twist. I reckon the twist is what did it. It made it absolutely amazing. There you go, look at that. How cool is that slice? I'm so happy with it, and I'm so glad I did film it, because I wasn't going to film it, but I thought, why not? So I did. It wasn't going to be part of this tutorial, but I thought I would share it with you guys anyway. So these pieces are amazing. Okay, so I've popped them all onto my baking tray now. I've got them all sorted in their 3 pieces, so that once they come out, I'll know how I'm wanting to assemble them. I've also popped those scrap pieces on that I made. There's a bunch of different studs and toppers there, so I can mix and match if I need to once it's baked, if I decide to change my mind about anything. And one thing that I did notice as I was putting it down, I might actually end up changing for that, because I actually think that looks better, but I'll wait and see once it's cooked. So I'm going to go pop them in the oven now, and I will come back once I have sanded and drilled them all, and I'll show you the completed pieces. Just for fun, I thought I would just pop in a bit of a time lapse here of me sanding. As you can see, I've got my Dremel drill and I've got a buffing pad on the end, and that's what I use to sand my pieces. Okay, so they are all finished now. I have baked them, I've sanded them, and I've assembled them. Just got to put the earring backs on still, but I thought I would just show you them as they are now, because they'll need another day to be able to have the earring backs all dry. But yeah, so I'm really happy with how these turned out. I do have a bunch of studs and things at the side to do as stud packs too, but yeah, I really like how these worked out. So I hope you liked them too. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully this has inspired you for a non-traditional Christmas or traditional Christmas, either way. Yeah, thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.